Okay, so continuing on in this video, replacing this wore out belt on this Recumbent exercise bike. Where we left off, I had taken the belt off and I ordered a new belt. And here is the new belt. And it took 4 days. Links to the place where I ordered it from and all the information is in the description box down below this video. So while I was waiting for it to arrive, this bike, right now it's hot August weather, and in this room where this bike is, the window just up and off camera where you can't see it is open all the time, and I didn't want any night dampness to get into the electromagnetic resistance unit here. There's another little cobweb, and I had covered it with plastic. So one thing I didn't show in the last part of the video was about measuring the belt. So let's see, I had taken a Sharpie and I marked this belt, and just using a standard tape measure, I basically lined it up there. And if you just hold it nice and tight, don't let it slide, keep it nice and smooth on the belt, you can get a fairly accurate measurement of, you know, how big the belt is. So on the website it said 37.5 inch, or it said 37 inches, but this measured 37.5. I did go ahead and order it because I figured I have a lot of room here to adjust to tighten it. So the new belt came, and the new belt is 37.5 inches, exactly the same size as the previous belt. Now, the reason I'm taking the time to explain all this out is because some people might see this video and know about all this stuff and understand it and think it's boring. But for the ones who want to do this job and want to save their exercise bike, and they might not know all this technical stuff, but this really isn't this hard of a job to accomplish. As long as you have that one specialty tool to remove the crank that we spoke about in the beginning, the rest of this job is not that hard if you know what you're doing. So now this is a grooved belt, and I guess I'm pretty sure the camera can pick this up because it is black on black, but this is a grooved belt. And this belt is very similar to any belt that would be on a gasoline or a diesel engine automobile or truck or something. This would be like a serpent, what would be called a serpentine belt. And they call it a serpentine belt. It goes around many different pulleys, just such as what this one does. It'll go many different ways. Okay, and it has grooves on it, and the pulley has grooves. So here's the pulley for the resistance unit here. This is the pulley up here. Now this idler doesn't have any grooves on it, but that's because the back of the belt rides on that. But here's the odd thing that I want to point out, and that is, let me get this light around here, and that is this belt oddly is a lot narrower than the pulley. And I don't know, I can't really get my camera in there to show that, but there is like one groove extra on each side of the belt. And most serpentine belts that I've ever replaced on automobiles or other machinery are always the same exact width as whatever the pulley is. And however many grooves are on the pulley, that's how many grooves should be on the belt. And this one is not like that. Even the old previous belt was not like that. But what I did notice about the previous belt is that all of the wear and tear is on one side of the belt. And I believe it was on this inside, what would be the inside facing in. So I have to go back and look at the video I shot. I don't know if maybe this was not centered and this belt was over a little bit. I don't know. So what I'm suggesting is when we put this new belt on, we're going to make sure that we have it in the middle. And basically that means there's going to be one groove showing over here, one groove showing over there. And it's going to go on. This is the easy part here. This is the very easy part. It's putting the tension on it. I'm hitting my camera. So I'm lined up here, but I'm not lined up here. And I think right there lines me up. And if I just work this around slowly, holding it in its one spot, I think I'm going to be. Okay, now this has to come over that. And again, that's all the easy part. But now what we have to do is we have to bring the tension up. And I'm just going to take a minute to explain another odd thing about this. And usually on automobiles, a lot of automobiles, your idler pulley is actually on a very heavy spring arm. And the idler pulley is what puts the tension. You don't usually have anything like this. But this doesn't have that. And that's what's making this a little bit of a problem. So you can see our marks where we started. Remember, our marks were lined up with the old belt. And we want to try, that's our goal, is to get back to that, but we might not be able to. Let's see, what do we got here? Somebody's tight. Okay, there, we're loose. And we're not going to do it by me just holding it here, you know, with my hands. We're going to have to get something like this. We're going to have to use this crowbar. This is just your standard. And I know not everybody has one of these, but I'm sure you'll be able to borrow one from somebody. If you had to go buy one, they're usually not that expensive at all. I think this one's old, but I think I bought this one for less than 10 bucks. Essentially what I'm going to have to do is use this. Probably, I was looking at this the other day while I was waiting for the new belt to come. I think I'm going to have to bring this spindle around to a flat spot. Put this against here, and I might not be able to have the camera on when I do this. I'm not doing it right now. Right now I'm just kind of showing you what I plan to do. And this is going to be see how this is very slippery here. There, get that guy up there. So our marks are somewhat close, and I'm going to have to stand up to do this because I'm going to have to put a lot of weight, and then I'm going to have to crank down on at least one of these with a bolt. Okay, so this is what we want to do first. We want to make sure that we're in the middle here. We want to make sure that we're in the middle on the big pulley. We want to make sure we're over this. We have our 11 millimeter socket, and we're set to tighten, and we're going to tighten this one. Right now they're all loose, relatively loose, and this is how I'm going to try to do it. It's going to be more of a watch what I do type of thing. So I'm against the idler and I'm against the spindle, but I'm actually against this part up here. And this is kind of slippery. It wants to hit. I'm going to give myself as much leverage as possible. And I'm going to give it a smack like that. Maybe another one. And then hold it. I'm holding it as tight as I can. I seem to have pretty good tension there. And just double check. I'm in the middle here. I'm in the middle down here. And just for the fun of it, we're going to stick a crank on here. I don't seem to be getting any slippage, but we really won't know for sure until, unfortunately, until I get it back together and plug it in and ride it. But I think I got it pretty good. We're not really close on our tension, but I'm going to go with that, and at least go with that for now. So what we want to do is we want to continue tightening the other three. And these don't have to be super tight. This is cheap hardware. I know it's not super good quality, so you don't want to tighten them super tight. You would probably snap them off, especially if you're using a ratchet. And I'm going to go back to this first one. Just make sure he's tight. So I think we're good. Come on. Okay. Okay, so before I start putting everything back together, I just want to talk a little bit more about our tension marks not aligning back to where they originally were. And I'm feeling confident that this is tight enough for now. And I say for now because again, like I explained earlier, a lot of automobiles, the idler pulley is on a spring and it keeps constant tension, and as the belt wears in and stretches, the idler pulley is what takes up the tension. Here we have just a static tension setup. So I'm kind of feeling that maybe a month down the road, this might loosen up. It might not. It might not. Maybe it doesn't get as much wear and tear as, say, an automobile does, so it doesn't need that. But I have a feeling eventually I might feel some slippage on this thing, especially when I get up around resistance level 9, 10. Sometimes I even get this thing up to 12. So that's usually about the highest resistance level I go. So if I feel any slippage, well, of course, I'll revisit this part of it. So I guess all I can say now is let's start putting this thing back together, and I'll try to make it as quick as possible. Okay, so a few days ago, while I was waiting for the belt to come, I had taken an old toothbrush and I had cleaned up a lot of this. There's still a little bit of stuff there, not much. But basically, I had cleaned it with a brush, then I used some 409 and kind of wiped it out. Did the same thing to the other side. There's still a little bit of dust here. But I just wanted to show that that's what I used. I think everybody has an old toothbrush that they use for scrubbing stuff. So let's go ahead and put it back together. It should be pretty much the opposite of taking it apart. Now, I'm only going to put a couple screws in on this side. Okay, so we're just going to put in this bottom front screw to hold this in place, and then we'll clamshell the rest of it together from the other side. See how well this lines up. Again, these screws, these bottom screws, are very tricky. The screwdriver has to be lined up perfectly, and I got it nice and tight. That just kind of sits on there. We're going to find the pedal that's marked R for right. I like to give it just a light tap to we're going to take one of our spindle or crank bolts. Using our 13mm socket. How tight do these have to be? I'm sure there is a torque spec for these, but I'm just going to take them back to the tightness of what they were, of what the torque wrench in my hand says. Right about there. Okay, so that's pretty much good for this side. The rest of the stuff, I'm going to have to turn the unit around and we'll finish this project up. Okay, so before I put this side together, I want to talk a little bit about the cleaning I had done in here. I'm not really going to make a cleaning video for this, but what I did was I used the toothbrush and I kind of, went around like this. Then I stuck paper towel in here and holding my finger, carefully went around. And then I actually wetted the paper towel with some 409 cleaner. I didn't spray the cleaner in here, but I sprayed the cleaner on the towel and then run the towel around, and you can kind of see I got a lot of gunk off of there. I also used the brush, and again, I didn't put anything on the brush. Brush was dry, but there's still some dust in there, but I tried to clean the surface of these magnets the best I could with a towel. I also cleaned dust out of here. I just basically did an overall cleaning of it, trying not to get the magnets wet, but just doing a dry cleaning. But this is looks like a cast iron flywheel, and it has a copper insert in here, and there's a hole drilled here. This is like for balance, to balance it and everything. It's a pretty nicely made, pretty heavy. It's if you were to turn this, you would see how heavy that thing is. I guess it has to be. Anyway, that's the cleaning I did there. Other than that, I cleaned up the cobwebs and things like that the best I could. That doesn't have to be super clean, but I did want to get that excess dust, and I couldn't reach down in here too far. But I will say this, the resistance of this thing after all these years still seems to work fine. As dirty as it was, I didn't have any problems with that. I just had problems with the belt. So also check to make sure on both sides here, if the camera's getting that, it's kind of out of camera range there, there are some rubber shims, and you want to make sure those rubber shims are in place because your side cover will rattle. That's what they're there for. And if you have a rattling side cover, you could put a little extra foam rubber on that spot and maybe pad it up, because these things are a little noisy. So let's get this other cover. And now notice another thing, let me point out. So right here, our screw is going to have to come through from the cover on this side and go through into the cover on that side. That's going to be kind of the only tricky one, I think. You never know until you get into this stuff. We'll see what happens. So, cover's in place. Just wanted to mention there is a cup holder here, and this cup holder can slide out. It fell out on me once. You got to make sure it's back in its little home. And we're also going to have to make sure that these grooves, let's see if I can get in the camera here, that these grooves line up over here. You can kind of see, if you look closely, you'll see where they're supposed to go. Okay, so let's get this thing together. Okay, I repositioned my camera, and I've already put this together here. Now I'm going to tighten this screw in here. And I'm not really going to put any of these screws super tight until I know it's all fit together. That's a trick when you're putting anything together, is never tighten everything down. Let's go for... We're going to go for this bottom one right here. Let's take our cap off. Okay, he's somewhat into position. Now I still have another screw to put in over here, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put this pedal on, this crank. Okay, we're going to stick our little cover on there. Now, this is kind of very important. We want to make sure we look and see where the pedal is on the other side, because we want the pedals to be opposite, obviously. And if we give a turn, I can see my other pedal over here. The camera can't see it, but it's in the right position. Actually, let me take this back off. One thing I did want to do is, because this side had a little bit of rust, I was going to put a little bit of anti-seize, which is just a graphite compound. You could put a little bit of grease. You don't have to do it, but it's going to make it so that if I ever need to take this apart again, and who knows, I probably will at some point to adjust that belt, at least I know it won't be rusted on there. Okay, my pedals are opposite. My spindle bolt, my 13mm socket, okay. Now it's just a matter of putting this screw in, and let's see, what have I got? Well, I got 3 screws left, so I must have at least 2 more screws on the other side then. So let me go ahead and see if I can do this. Okay, that one's pretty good. Oh, we don't want to forget to put our little caps back into. They just press in. And I think I can reach. Yes. Okay. Okay, the job is complete, and it was a success. Everything's back together. I plugged the unit into the wall. I just jumped on it, and I put it at a couple different settings. I put it at 1, it was working fine. Put it up to 7, 8, and then I just jumped right over to 12. I jumped over to 12, and it works fine. It is quieter than it was before. I should have made a video about that, but it made a noise. Right now the only noise I'm getting is just from that thing rattling. That doesn't bother me. The other noise was very bothersome. So now it's just nice and quiet like it was supposed to be. Job well done. I hope this video helps somebody. I know it is a long video, but again, I will say that, you know, the reason it's so long is because I wanted to show step by step. It's not a hard job to do if you know how to do it and if you know the proper tools to use. And just to very much begin this job, you need to get this crank off to get into the covers. You need to get the other crank off, and you need to have a special tool to do that. I know when I was 14 years old racing BMX bikes, I didn't have one of these, and I tried to get a pair of aluminum cranks. This is a steel crank, and I beat the crap out of it until I ruined it trying to get it off. I took the spindle bolt out, and I thought I could just, you know, hit it with a hammer, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Sometimes it does, but it's very rare, especially if they have a little bit of rust like this one had. So again, links to everything in the description box down below. You know, feel free to leave comments, of course. I know this video will help somebody. When I made the video for the console, I kind of thought when I was doing it, you know, this is such an old exercise bike, nobody's ever going to watch this video. And actually a lot of people did watch it, and it did help a few people. And even if it helps just one person, hey, that's great. Belt cost me $38, $17 for shipping. Other than that, I got to look and see how much one of these would cost, because most people are not going to have this. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.